Welcome, colleagues. This is a series of short weekly blogs that I'm going to offer to the school business leadership community, just in terms of the work that the Institute's involved in. I'm going to try to provide a summary every week of both our key strands of work, but also meetings that I've attended and conversations that I've been involved in. So over the last week or so, I have, let's start with the fringe event that I attended at the Conservative Party conference last week. And to be clear, I attended as a stakeholder, not as a Conservative Party supporter. The fringe event was hosted by the Education Policy Institute, and the conversation centred around what next for our exam system, and in particular GCSEs. We talked about whether or not a child's age was a good point at which to examine them, or whether indeed their readiness to take the exam was more important than their age. Notwithstanding that, that can't be completely open-ended, there would need to be a window, and there are some jurisdictions, some European countries that already adopt a similar process. The other thing that we talked about at quite length was, in quite some length and detail, was academic subjects versus vocational routes, and whether the balance was right at the moment. And I think the consensus in the room was that it wasn't. The margins of that meeting, I met with the Secretary of State's new advisor, a gentleman called Mark Lehane. Looking forward to having further conversations with Mark in the not too distant future. Mark is somebody that I know from some previous work that I did. I also spent some time with the Chancellor Rishi Sunak, and we talked about the imperative to unlock the potential of the apprenticeship levy. And I said that at the moment it's far too difficult for school leaders, and in particular school business leaders, to access that important funding. And at the moment, it's the only funded pathway for CPD. So we just need to do better. There's a lot of money hemorrhaging out of schools and trusts, and we want to see the benefits of that investment in CPD. I was also privileged to participate yesterday in a conversation with global leaders, part of a series in conjunction with an organisation called Outstanding Schools in the Middle East. Esteemed academics were present. We talked about sustainability. We talked about the future of technology. We talked about the assessment regime. We talked about governments across the world's obsession with metrics and data, and we talked at length about the importance of putting the child at the centre of any system, and that overly bureaucratic top-down accountability measures sometimes stifle progress. I started the first of a series of qualitative interviews with sector leaders as part of a piece of research I'm doing into barriers to joined up leadership. I spent just short of an hour with Dame Alison Peacock from the Chartered College of Teachers, and we had a very candid conversation about some of the challenges, some of the the perceptions from both the teaching side and the school business leadership side. We talked about the role of governors and trustees in that joined up conversation. I'm looking forward to having similar conversations with all of the national associations and head teacher unions over the coming weeks. We've started to do some important work with Hayes and with Stone King on understanding more about school business leadership pay. So that's the legal constraints related to pay progression, but also understanding what the school business leadership pay landscape looks like. So some important benchmarking work with Hayes. We submitted our views on the national funding formula. So there was an institute submission. We're also pleased that we're able to support members of the institute in producing their submissions. We weren't prescribing in any way a response. It would be wrong to do so, but we did help colleagues work their way through the consultation and make sense of the questions that were being asked. So we look forward to the outputs from that consultation. And finally, we continue to do some really important work with colleagues on the financial assurance framework, better financial reporting, which is a project that's been undertaken to make academy finance returns less onerous and to move towards more consistency in terms of the way that we record transactions through the new chart of accounts. So again, another busy week. We're in the middle of quite a significant piece of work to improve our tech capability, and we're moving a lot of our collateral, our content, our resources onto a much more dynamic and robust framework. So we're busy in the background pulling that together, and we hope that certainly by the new year we'll be able to share that with members, and the experience that they have as they navigate their way around our website should be significantly enhanced. So thank you for your time. I look forward to talking to you all again next week. Have a good weekend. Thank you.